Bluetooth. Good morning. You start the recording. Meeting is now streaming on Facebook. Outstanding. So joining me today, I think we are live, is Anya Gore. Great. All right, so we really are live. And let's see, and I'll be smarter about this next time. But sorry, this is the first time using Zoom because I think it's a little easier. But joining me today, and I'm so excited about this, is Anya Gore. And many of you that are Crock Pet chefs and iPets Ally members have heard me speak about her and the help that she has offered Hayo, my little faithful mascot, and many other members of the community. So Anya her business name is Connected Souls, and she is helping pet parents who want to understand their pet's health needs through communication and other needs, physical and emotional, coaching and energy healing so that their pet can live a healthy and fulfilled life. And Anya, I hadn't realized this, but I knew you were born in London, but you've lived in France for quite some time, for the last 30 years or so, in the Pyrenees with your husband and your pet family, your dogs and cats and beautiful Zoe, in a lovely mountain village. And you started your working life in publishing and then acting, and then most of your professional life has been in energy healing, essentially, for people. So reflexology, massage therapy, zero balancing, energy healing directly, and then soul realignment. And you've always been close to animals and nature, and also studied shamanism. But this has all sort of brought you to where you are now with animal communication and using things like Reiki and sound healing and guided meditations more for us humans. But you retired, and then you've been focusing solely on helping pets through animal communication, partnering training, I guess, more for the humans than the pets, and creating connection between us and our pets. So that is an amazing career and a lot of different options. So how did this sort of bring you here?
Oh, well, yes. Hi, Ruth. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's lovely to chat with you. Yes, it does sound a lot. And of course, it is a lot, but I've been around a long time too. So, I've had varied and different careers. And there have been times in my life when I've questioned quite deeply what my path really was and what my purpose was. And what I've realized now at this kind of, let's say, later stage of life, as I branch into a clearer picture of what I'm here for, is that, of course, all these paths have led to the path I'm on now. And really, this is the path. My path is what I choose to create. That's how I'm seeing it now. And yes, animals and nature have been part of my life, a very important part all my life, despite having been brought up in London. And we had pets, and I had very close relationships with them and loved them dearly. And we went on holidays in nature. So I saw a bit of nature, certainly, but it's really been since I've lived in France, where I've lived in very rural places. First in Normandy and now in the Pyrenees, which is quite wild, the mountains of the Pyrenees near to the Spanish border. So that really skyrocketed my connection with animals. And then certainly while I was communicating with animals in an informal way back since the 1990s, it's really, really kind of crystallized more recently in the last few years. And this is what I now do, sort of bringing animals' voices to the fore is really what it's all about. It's not even really giving them a voice, because I believe they have a voice. It's just helping them to express that voice and interpret it for their people, so that they can all understand each other better and improve all sorts of things, which we can certainly do through the work that I'm doing.
So I've heard you talking a lot about giving animals a voice, and I believe what you're saying is absolutely correct. They've been trying to tell us things for for some time, and we haven't been good at listening. So can you talk a little bit more about that, what you sort of start to hear on a regular basis, if you will, from our pets?
Well, yes, when it's communicating with our pets, people's pets, uh, first of all, I would say the thing that comes through so strongly, whatever the issues might be, that person and that animal. Hi, Hayo. She's wanting to be in the forefront.
Yes.
Whatever the issue is, what comes through always is the deep love that they have for us, that they really want to contribute to our lives. They want to be included in our lives, even to some surprising degree of detail in what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're planning. But I mean, each animal is an individual just as much as we are individuals. So you can't say too much in general, but that is one thing that is very, very common. It's that love they have for us. And of course, we feel that love too. We often feel unconditional love from our animals in a way that we, let's say, far less often manage to feel from human beings. And they certainly bring that to us, but they also bring us so much more. They bring us often through the challenges we're experiencing with them, whether they're health challenges, which obviously you will see a great deal of, or other challenges, behavioral or other kind of lifestyle challenges. They're often amazing opportunities if we wish to see them as such. They don't always feel
Yes.
welcome, because sometimes they can be really hard. So that is also part of the role that I have, as I see it, is to, when I connect with the animal, I will always get their take on things. I'll get their feelings, their vision of things, their understanding through the different ways in which I can, capture that. And we have a dialogue about it. And then I can always transmit that. What I do is therefore transmit it to the person, who can then get another perspective themselves. Otherwise, we can get very locked in our own perspectives. And actually, animals can get locked in their own perspectives too, although they have a sense of us which is broader than we might imagine, and often broader than the sense we have of them, because they're open to it and connected with us in a way that we are and can be, but have often forgotten. We've kind of lost that ability to some extent, or we don't believe it, and we don't take the time. So they have that connection very strongly. And I've lost my train of thought slightly. I can't remember what I was going to say with that. However, what is amazing is that we can, in translating their feelings, get very specific help, and they can be very precise about what they need, and that can just lead the relationship to a whole new level.
And that's kind of part of what I'm finding too. I find that often, especially with health challenges, pets are mirroring what we either cannot see or don't want to look at in ourselves.
Yeah.
And yes, I think they would love us to just slow down and stop
Yeah.
looking at these things and look at them more and just be
Yes.
present and quiet.
Yes,
And
definitely. Yes. I mean, I know that my animals, both cats and Zoe, let me know very clearly when I've been on the computer too long, and when my attention is too much in my head, let's say. And I think that's certainly true of our animals, especially with the kind of lives we all live these days. And of course, we're all on the computer, and it's a blessing too, but it does tend to disconnect us from our physicality, from our present moment, from our bodies. And they are asking us to enjoy the simpler things of life. But they're not only about that, they're about so much more. And that so much more will be completely individual to the animal and the person and the relationship. So an animal will have a different relationship with each person they live with, and so on. It's just like with people.
Right. It's exactly, it is. And I think we tend to assume that I think their communication is less advanced, if you will, but it also kind of keeps them out of their heads. So they stay present every moment.
I would love to question that about their communication being less advanced. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Please do, because what I've been told in the past is that their communication level is at about that of a 5-year-old. So blow it out of the water.
Okay, I think this can be true, for example, of dogs in terms of their behavior in our day-to-day life. And certainly that can be true in when I do partnership coaching with people and their dogs. Often we make the analogy between a young child and the dog, and how would you do this with a young child, and so on, because dogs, being socially intelligent mammals, are so similar in a way to a young child. However, as an animal communicator, I don't necessarily agree. You see, the way I see it, and I think this is generally accepted in by animal communicators, is that they communicate, obviously not in words as we do, and they don't use, perhaps I would say, their intellect in the same way. It's not really an intellect, but it's a deep intelligence and wisdom, and sometimes wisdom that can blow your mind away, but just extraordinary. And when we communicate with an animal, we're using telepathic communication. So really what that is, quite simply, and we all have access to it, there's nothing special about communicating telepathically. It's just we've forgotten, most of us, how to do it and have to relearn it. Is a communication that's much quicker and much more direct, and passes through senses and subtle senses and an instant knowing or a feeling in the body. It might be you see something with your inner eye, you might hear something, and then as a communicator that can often get translated into words, because I will need words to convey that to the person. So that's the role of the interpreter. Sometimes I get words completely directly just coming into me, and sometimes I get something else. I might get a sensation or a visual or a smell or any sense like that. And then digging deeper with the animal, I get to understand what that actually means, what the symbolism may be. So it's a very complex way of communicating, and a way that all of life, not just animals and people, but all of life has. So it's absolutely beautiful. And I think it's really interesting that at this time in our history, this is coming up to the surface again for us.
Interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes absolute sense. So it's really more that we're at a 5-year-old level as far as understanding communication from the other senses. So we're all verbal in our brains, and that's sort of it.
Yes, I think so. It's not that we're backward exactly. It's more that it's more. I think it's more a question of having forgotten. As a young child, we naturally would talk to our dog or cat and feel. A lot of us children, when we were children, we had that ability, and then of course it's educated out of us. The way life is and education is, and So we have the intellect, but as human beings, we have what is so why we're lucky as human beings is that we have all of it.
Right.
We have, and with our intellect and that type of intelligence, we can hopefully, and that's I think see also as my role, if you like, my path is to use that in a way that brings the global communication to people via their animals, so that they can just see them differently and open some doors and windows for them in their own consciousness, and everyone grows together that way.
Yes, and that makes sense. It's sort of waking us back up and helping us to remember that,
Yes,
oh yeah, we can do these things.
that's
So
right. Yeah.
would you say that the majority of people are contacting you because of health reasons or behavior issues or some combination therein, or they simply want to deepen their relationship with their pets?
It can be for all of those reasons. It very often is for health reasons, and certainly for behavioral and confusing reasons, where the person is confused and feels a bit lost as to what to do next. So it's a mixture of all of those things. And of course, they are interrelated in that health issues will affect behavior. Behavior can affect health issues, emotional, we are holistic beings, all of us, and certainly all of that affects the quality of life, both for the animal and the person. So people, I think they tend to come to me for the most part for kind of more precise information from the animal's point of view, and then also what I can do to help bring that greater harmony to the whole setup. So that includes the person, and that's where some of the other stuff I do comes in as well. So it's not just an animal communication, it's other things too, which could be coaching if there are particular difficulties people are having, counseling for the animal. Often it's as much counseling for the animal as for the person.
Yes.
And all of that.
Yes.
And I
Kyle
think she
agrees.
agrees. She agrees.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. I mean, you certainly had to help me wake up to, I mean, this poor little girl has had a very interesting and horrible past. And was my mother's dog before ours. And so we had to wake up to sort of her set of sensibilities and what was a scary to her and things of that nature. And poor little darling has, unfortunately, we travel frequently, which she doesn't like particularly, but she does sort of acquiesce to. But here's an interesting thing. So there's all these things that we kind of can't understand sometimes. And so here you go, sugar. One of the things that I've been sort of working with is learning about tissue mineral analysis. And we actually just got hers back this morning, and she's very high in mercury, which is going to really kind of screw your brain up. So now we're going to have excited barking. But that is something that we can work with, and it's just another piece of the puzzle. And it certainly, I mean, if you're in the middle of it, there's no way to say, oh golly, I have heavy metal poisoning, because you just don't know it until you start to say, well, maybe this could be a problem. So that will be interesting to see if we can help her more.
Yeah, and certainly from Hayo's point of view, she won't be able necessarily to say I've got mercury poisoning, but she will be able to let you know exactly what she's feeling in her body and the sensations. And so that, that is where it can be useful for you as the vet, because then you'll get some more, it's the finer detail of what's going on from the animal's point of view.
Right. And that's such a crucial thing, because often pet owners will say, I don't know what's wrong. And my vet says everything looks normal on the blood work. And then, if we don't go beyond that small diagnostic paradigm and start to look for other things, both supporting the animal emotionally, physiologically, things of that nature, then we make some progress, but it's difficult to get them to a state where they truly feel wellness. And so,
That's right. Yes.
yeah,
And so often you hear people say, oh, if only she could tell me what was wrong. If only she could tell me what she's feeling. But, they can. They
yes,
can. And it's part of the puzzle. Of course, it's not the whole, a communicator, unless they are a vet, but that's not my case. We don't diagnose, we don't do anything like that, but we can simply relay what the animal is feeling, how it is within them.
wow. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And that's the thing, is that I've done some work um, with sort of understanding things on an emotional level and communication, and my abilities kind of come and go based on how much
Mm,
brain inflammation is present. But
mm.
that was so frustrating to me in clinical practice, is I could get that there was something that I was missing, but I could never get down to it because I was in a situation
Yes,
where everything was moving so fast.
that's
So
right.
this,
So much pressure, and kind of the situation probably wasn't conducive to you being able to tap into that at
yes,
the time.
exactly. Yeah. And it's, we're, trying to manage, um, yeah, just too much, way too
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
But at any rate, that's what it was. So that makes a great deal of sense, though, that they can tell us how they feel, and this is a lost skill of medicine, is listening to your patient, whether that's
Yeah,
from the human side or the veterinary side. And
that's
so I think
right.
great doctors are the ones that listen and think about, okay, what does this really mean, and
That's right.
how can we step out of the box and do a bit
Yeah,
better.
they're still in touch with their
Yes,
humanity. Mm.
right. Um, so do you find, and this is we spoke a little bit about this earlier before we started this, that one of the things I'm finding is that oftentimes animals are mirroring kind of what we need
Mm.
to see about ourselves, or that we're unwilling to see about ourselves. Do you find that
Mm.
that's
Mm.
consistent as well with your communications?
Yes, I think it very often happens. I don't think it always happens. Sometimes it very clearly does. It can very clearly be that a physical symptom we might have is mirrored by the animal, but I don't know that it's necessarily most of the time. The way I see it, and from the experience I have, it's more they're not mirroring in necessarily copying things from us, but they are holding up a mirror to us. It's not
Yes,
the same. Okay.
yes,
So they are showing us, revealing to us aspects of ourselves that maybe could use some attention. So, for example, if we are irritated by an animal's behavior, an animal that's barking a lot and driving us mad, um, often, if you dig a bit deeper into what it is that you're feeling irritated about, it appears to be the barking, but actually, it might be something else deeper. So, because they are kind of getting at you with the barking, you might start to explore things differently. You might start to explore working differently with your dog, or you might find an animal communicator, or you might find a healer, or something else, some different way of trying to fix the problem. Often we are pushed by our animals to try to fix a problem. And when we start to go into that, we realize that something else is going on, which is much more interesting than fixing the problem. And as a result, the problem may just dissolve when the issue that could be to do with us is revealed. And certainly an issue that could be to do with the two of us together, animal and person. So it's mirroring, that's how I see it. It's more complex and subtle than just the same symptoms for, or even the same behavior for each of us. It's like pushing a button in us for some reason. So buttons are often pushed in us psychologically when someone's behavior that we hate can often be because we've actually got that within us and it's not quite resolved.
oh, oh, Yes, and I agree.
So
There
you
is
know what I
that
mean.
too. Yes, I
Mm.
do. It's like,
So I think it's a complex picture of
yes,
mirroring. It's not the sort of obvious in my view,
no,
anyway.
you're right. And I think that concept of, yes, your dog has, and I do often hear this, your dog has autoimmune disease because you do. That's a kind of a setup for failure almost. Like, I
I think it,
caused it. It's all my fault.
yes,
I'm
yeah,
bad.
I think
Yeah.
uh, absolutely. I don't think it's always so helpful. I think it's more because then, yes, we can feel guilty and, oh no, I don't want you to take on my illness. Please don't take my illness on, and oh, I would never
Yes.
want that for you. And so I don't feel that most of our pets are here to sacrifice their well-being in order for us not to have to go through something. I think it's more of a shared journey that they have chosen us and we've chosen them. And I do believe they choose us because my work is very much also it is very down to earth and detailed, but it is also at a soul level, my work. So I do
Yes.
believe they choose for many reasons to be with us. And I think it's a shared exploration, it's a shared life journey. And every combination is going to be, as I keep repeating, completely unique.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's it. I mean, so when we're having Elks outside, it's very exciting. Apollo, come here, buddy. When Hayo chose my mother, and she really did, it was, so the whole circumstance was that my mother's dog had unfortunately been killed at a boarding kennel, and she was at a place in her life where she was not going to stay on the planet unless there was another living being in the house with her.
Mm, mm,
So this is not anything I've ever recommended before, but it was really clear that this was
mm.
absolutely necessary for her. So Hayo had just been rescued from uh, a foster, well, an animal hoarding situation. This woman had over 120 dogs in her house, and she was a puppy
Oh my
miller.
God.
And so we went to the foster group in Charleston, and they were friends. The woman that runs it is a friend, and so they brought in 3 or 4 poodles. That's sort of what my mother had in mind. And
Mm,
this little dog came in. Yes, you did. She came into the room and climbed into my mother's lap and never got
oh,
out of her lap. And all these other
oh,
dogs came in. And so my mother's petting them and talking to them, and she keeps looking at this little thing in her lap. But I mean, that was it. And then, her purpose with us is very different. And I don't know if she had this. Some would say that she had this plan. She knew this was going to happen. Um, the difficulty of losing her first love, so to speak, and then
mm,
transitioning into our family. But she's definitely a mirror for me. If I'm getting anxious, if I'm
mhm.
spinning in circles, she starts spinning too.
Right,
So for me, she's a direct mirror. And if
right,
I'm
yes,
if I'm
yeah.
ignoring people, both human and pets, she starts to get more wound up. So, oh, okay, I need to slow down and take a deep breath, calm myself, and be more present with my family. So
That's
it's been
wonderful.
interesting.
That's wonderful. Yeah, wonderful that you're listening to her. That's all they want.
Oh, and I'm a bit dense, but finally, finally, I get the idea. So yeah. So when if you could tell people something that they could do to help sort of center themselves into being more present, what's the sort of thing you would suggest for them?
Um, well, I do. I do a lot of guided meditations and things like that for people. I can certainly do. I can do a quick, example here if you like. I can do just a sort of very quick technique that it could be useful for people. The thing about this is that, people are often wanting to calm their pets down. And the thing is, there is no one magic formula for calming pets in the plural down, because every pet will want different things.
Yes.
You know, some will like physical touch or massage or being stroked firmly. Some will like to hear you talk gently, and some will want other things. So it's not a kind of one size fits all. But what is a kind of one size fits all, in my view, is that, as you say, it all starts with us. And so just as they can remind us, as you're saying with Hayo, that we're a bit too in our heads or a bit too tense and busy, we can indirectly remind them that there is another way too. And so
Yes.
it's really a lovely thing to start with ourselves. And that's what I always would encourage people to do. So,
Right. And
I don't know if you...
I put your, yes, that's exactly it. And I put a link to a meditation that folks can sign up for and just start doing right off the rip. And then there'll also be one of what you actually do is sort of a 2-hour program to help people start to understand what their pet is trying to say and begin to process that. And so there'll be some information about that service that you offer as well. But yeah, I think,
Thank you.
yeah, of course.
So yes, so I don't know, would you like to just do a quick exercise if I just
Yeah,
explain it? Should we just try something out?
Io thinks that's a great idea.
Yes, I hope she enjoys it too.
Yes.
So it won't be long. So, but basically, this is just a really easy technique that you can do as a kind of meditative habit, or, and you know, you can be sitting down, lying down, or whatever, but also you can use this in a situation, in a real situation where you feel you want to calm down. So it could be while you're walking with your dog, and could be preferably before things start to go wrong. But if things are going wrong in some way for you, that they're getting too excited or pulling on the lead, whatever it might be, this, instead of getting drawn into that situation, this kind of technique can be really helpful in just flipping things differently. And also, for example, at the vets, you know, waiting in the waiting room at the vets when the dog is nervous, or the cat, and not any animal, it's not just for dogs, you're apprehensive. And so again, you can really calm down the energy for everybody. And this is starting with you in the vet's consulting room as well, even during a procedure. If you're there, it can help. And indeed, even if you're not in the procedure, you can do it too, and it will affect your dog too. So that's just a bit of a preamble. So it's not going to be long. I'm just going to, is that good, Ruth?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Let's just do this together. And so just, I'll probably shut my eyes because I can feel it better. So just, you're on a chair, I imagine. So just get comfortable sitting on your chair and just take a nice breath and just sigh it out. And feel your feet on the floor. Just feel that connection with the ground. So this is where this can work just as well if you're walking or standing. You don't need to be sitting. So what we're going to do is do some breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'm going to count the breaths, so that what we're going to be doing is breathing in for 4, and I'll count it, and then breathing out for 8. So we're going to get ourselves to calm our system down by increasing the length of the out breath. But do it in a relaxed way. Don't put too much effort in. Just make it easy for yourselves. So start breathing in through your nose, 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in through your nose, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in, 2, 3, 4. And out. Keep breathing out, counting it approximately, it's fine. And as you breathe out, let go of what you can and feel yourself sinking into the earth. Feel things bringing you downwards. I hope you haven't stopped breathing, that's fine. I just needed to explain that. And then we'll go in again. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just one more. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just come back to normal breathing. Just give a bit of a sigh. And so it's really good to, when you do your out breath, as I said, to feel your energy sinking down into the earth with the out breath. And what's really nice also while you're doing this, I couldn't say it all while I was counting, but what's really nice is to think of even just one thing that is going to make you smile. So think of something that you can be happy and grateful for, because that's a very powerful practice, is gratitude, as I'm sure many of you know. So even in a difficult moment, even in that moment of tension or fear or whatever, there will always be something, if not in that moment, then as soon after as possible, something you can be happy about. Oh, Hayo's beautiful coloured fur, or her sweet eyes, or the coffee I had this morning. You know, there's always something. So
Yes.
how was that? Did you feel more relaxed after that?
Absolutely. And it's what I noticed too is everything, the boys got very quiet. Everybody got very quiet. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's, yeah, absolutely. It's and it's amazing. I'm doing a lot of work with breathing, and she always wants to be on top of me when I'm doing that, because
Yes,
my energy just so
it's
really,
fantastic.
really what
Fantastic.
you're helping to do with that is to just ground ourselves back into the moment and
Yes.
stop going out here with everything horrible that things could be,
Yes.
or
And
worrying
this,
about. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And this is where, of course, our animals can help us to do that, because they are showing us how it's necessary, why it's necessary to do that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's just a quick technique.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's so simple and beautiful. And that's sort of in America, and I think probably in France as well, at the outset of COVID and now ongoing, many veterinary practices are not allowing the humans to come inside with their pets.
No, no,
And that freaks freaks us all out. I mean, that's,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing like the back. I'm going to take your beloved dog to the back to really,
I know.
and we hear,
Oh, it's
oh, it's awful.
it's
Yeah,
so hard. And so, yes, this is something you as the person can do, and you can feel that you're actually contributing and supporting your animal, and you will indeed be supporting them. It's absolutely real. You know, that connection between you is so real, and the calmer you are and more optimistic and present you are, the more they will be able to handle things.
yes. And, so this is such useful information. And so the technology appeared to go off without a hitch, but in reality, I ended up broadcasting to my personal page instead of um, the Facebook business page.
Uh,
But we
Okay.
did finally get a few folks on with us. And so there's I don't know, like a 30-second delay or something like this. But what I wanted to ask Bettina, of course, is with us today, our dear friend. And if others have questions for you, um, and Bettina is saying that your meditations are so calming, and that you've been helping their dogs tremendously, and the macaws
Oh,
too.
thank
So
you. Thank you,
yeah,
Bettina.
so I'm not sure who else is watching, but if you've got specific questions for Anya, please jump in and ask them in the comments. Um, in the meantime, I'll ask you if is there something else that we can do as pet parents, just in general? And I know that every relationship is different, but is there something we can do in specific that would, on a regular basis, like this meditation you just gave us, that would help our pets not have to work so hard and also help sort of
Mm,
calm them, I guess, for a better lack of description?
yeah, I think it also, in a way, speaks to communication and connection, which is kind of my great love. Both of them are my great loves. Um, it's when, for example, a thing you can do, which you may not be doing, not you, but we sometimes don't do, is when they are showing a behavior that's challenging and could be barking, could be,
Like
looking
barking.
worried. Yeah. um, is just to take that moment and really connect with them in that moment and say, I get you, I hear you. And then from there, you might be in a better place to find a way forward together. It's always that thing of when the communication gets very loud, it's because we have not heard the quieter communications leading up to the explosion type of communication, just as with us. That's something
Right.
that we work with a lot with partnership, is that as well. So it's it's just taking that moment, many moments during the day, just really to look at them, be with them. It only need be a micro few seconds. It doesn't need to be hours. It's just coming back into ourselves and coming back into that connection with them.
Yes. Yes. And that makes a great deal of sense. And that's Bettina was asking how often you would suggest a guided meditation. And I'm not sure if she means with you in specific
Mm.
or just on a day-to-day basis, but I think you answered for what we can do, just
Yeah, I mean,
recentering several hours, several
yeah,
times a
I mean,
day.
that's certainly that yes, I would certainly try to do that kind of thing every day. That if you do sign up for my free little meditation, it's about breathing with your pets. It's not very long, but it's quite powerful, and that's something you can do daily. And then the more you do it, the better you get at it too, of course, like with
Yes.
everything. And the more of a
Yes.
habit, it is. Um, and and then certainly this short exercise is just really useful, almost on the run, as I said, when you're walking, when you're at the vet. It's just, again, a habit that is useful to get into, just to get back into your to slow your breathing down like
That
that.
makes absolute sense.
Yeah. And then I do as part of my program, I do um, a guided meditation for the person with their animal, specifically related to the communication I've had and to the issues. So those are all very, very individualized as well. And that's a different thing. That's a much sort of more in-depth
Right.
work.
Wonderful. Well, Anya, is there anything I haven't asked you that you wanted to make sure that people uh, know?
I don't think so. I think
That's a big open-ended question.
yes. No, I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for the opportunity of sharing what I do and what I love. That feels just wonderful.
Oh, and you do such wonderful work. And again, I put the link back in the comments so you can hit that link and sign up for the meditation. Anya will send you some information, also about what she does professionally, so to speak, with your pets and how to help them a little bit further. So that is what we have for today. We'll get this posted over to the main Facebook page. So nothing technologically is without um, issue, sadly. But here
Yes.
we are, and we managed to carry it off without too much of a problem. So many thanks for joining from France, and I think
Thank you.
let's see, if you're 7 or 8 hours plus, you're sort of through the
Yes.
majority of your day at this point.
Yes, it's getting on for 6 in the evening now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wonderful. So many thanks. Take good care. I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, your pet's ally. And again, with me today is Anya Gore. And she has just been a wonderful resource for Hio and for many of our friends' pets. So take good care. And until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you.
And I think that